road trip. You know, our meat birds are almost 8 weeks and they'll be ready to process on the 13th. That'll be 8 weeks. So where are we headed today? Well, Tractor Supply just got in a new shipment of Cornish rocks. So guess what? We are headed to go get some. So we will update y'all with a picture of them or a little video or something and let you see them as soon as we get back. But this is the road. This is 21. This is heading towards Talladega. We live in Sylacauga, between Sylacauga and Childersburg actually. So anywhere that we want to go to a Tractor Supply is at least a 30-minute drive. And yeah, so we will tune back in. We're home from the store. This is the setup we used before. It's summer, so they don't need as much protection, and we don't have predator problems really here because we're inside a fence with dogs, so our dogs know better. So we're going to go ahead and release the krakens. We got 14 meat birds and 3 other hens. All right, guys. Come on. There you go. So I'm going to get them out of this box, and then I'll turn on the heat lamp and get the water going in here. There y'all go. So there are 3 Easter eggers in here, 1 cuckoo maran, no, 2 Easter eggers, 1 cuckoo maran, and a little Brahma. All of them were half off, so that's why we went ahead and got it. You remember we have coryza, so this pen is away from all of our other chickens, and these will be the start of our next set of layers. Alright, let's get them set up with water and all. Morning, guys. So we're out in the garden today. Y'all come with us on our journey. We've got some updates. Alright, so black plastic update. We have already been given a learning curve. Yep, already. Let me show you. Yep, the storms came through and pulled up the plastic. We did not put enough staples in it. So, when you do yours, make sure you put lots of staples in it, because it come right up. The section in the front garden did the same thing. Just come right up. So, use our mistakes to make yours better. Make sure you use lots of staples. If there's a place that the wind can get up under it, it will. All right, one of the first things we're going to do is a garden update. This is the chicken yard garden. So the beans are running. We probably got some beans starting to bloom. If not, they are not far from it. Yep, we got bean blooms. So we will be harvesting beans not far from now. And remember, we had squash that we planted up under there. We have this whole thing under here of squash, zucchini and stuff. And some of the plants are still small. Some of the plants are starting to produce. Okay, for the most part, I'm not going to do anything. But y'all, look right there. That is an unpollinated squash. So when it didn't get pollinated, it ends up looking like blossom and rot. Okay, so I'm going to cut that off in just a minute and get rid of it. But look here. I got another one forming right there. Okay. All right, we also have some flowering plants mixed in here throughout there to help attract. Also, these beans, when they start blooming, is going to attract. Hopefully, they don't shade out too much, because that's what I'm kind of worried about. I'm worried that it's going to shade out before it gets a chance to produce. So next year, I may do this where I take and plant the beans over there where the tomatoes are, and the beans over here, and arch them over a third row instead of trying to plant between the two. But guys, look here. See that there? There's a squash down there at the end of that bloom. Yep. That was actually a zucchini, but same difference. So we have this whole thing going. We've got squash, zucchini, and rattlesnake pole beans. Now, why do we plant pole beans? Frankly, because I don't like bending over picking beans. I'd rather pick them off these poles. A lot more work getting it set up, but it's less work on me later. Yep. All right, so we've got tomatoes here. Tomatoes are producing. Okay, tomatoes are producing. We have calendula planted at the end of this row, and that row. And then there's a basil right there too. All right, so, you know, we come through and tied up. We're on a cattle panel, so I can just poke these tops right through the cattle panel carefully so you don't break them. And I can thread them on up to the top of the cattle panel. Okay? Now, keep that in mind. Or you can keep tying them to the cattle panel, either one. I'm going to thread them on up until they get too heavy to stay in there. Okay. Careful not to break your plant though, because you can break that top off, and then you'll have to let some of the side shoots grow. All right, so here we go. We come back and planted a noodle bean in between these plants. So they're going to reach out for the sun like this one's doing and this one's doing, but they're going to share the trellis and produce me some noodle beans. Oh my gosh, look here. I didn't even see these earlier when I came through. Y'all are getting to see the second harvest of tomatoes. All right, I do not remember what this variety is. I want to say it is bodacious. I thought the tomatoes were bigger, honestly, but it may not be, and I may have the variety wrong too. So, calendula is blooming, as you can see. Tomatoes are blooming. Everything is producing. It's looking great after the storm. More calendula blooming. Different varieties. Now this is pink brandywine, I believe. And then there's a break into another type of tomato. But all these tomatoes are doing well. Y'all look at the next row. Look at them San Marzanos down there. Do y'all see that? Won't be long until we'll have paste tomatoes. Okay, so we're gonna just real quickly go through here. Y'all, dogs are the worst destruction ever to your garden. Just saying. But I think it might be better than the chickens. All right, so let's just go down the rows and name what's through here. We have rattlesnake with squash and zucchini under it. We have several different varieties of tomato with calendula and marigolds through here. Another row of tomatoes, another row of tomatoes. This is white scallop squash with some cosmos, and then some tomatillas, and then celebrity tomatoes at the other end. This is another set, supposed to be succession planting for rattlesnake, but I don't think I quite got them far enough apart in weeks because they are catching up to the other set pretty quickly. We did plant some cherry tomatoes on the pole here that's holding up the teepee system. All right, these 2 rows did not do very well. I'm not sure exactly what happened, but this is our peppers. Now we have a pepper or 2 out through here. See, there's a pepper, there's a pepper, there's a pepper, there's a pepper. But for the most part, there's not many peppers, okay? This was our bell peppers, okay? And then up here, we were supposed to have some habaneros on one side and long, slim red cayenne on the other. Instead, what we have now is a mixture of a 4-pack from Walmart of hot peppers. I don't even know the variety, but that's what's here now because I could not get any 6-packs of bell peppers or cayenne peppers or anything. All right, these 4 rows will be planted probably later this week with some sweet potatoes. This is another row of squash and zucchini. This was supposed to be my purple potted beans, and they are not. They are more rattlesnake, and they are binding already, and they were behind the other set. This rain we got really made them jump. All right, right here we have a double row of an Indian corn that we planted that will go great for grinding in a grist mill, for cornmeal and stuff. This row, it is up all the way down, and it is a pack of black bean seeds. They're supposed to be a bush bean. This whole row is a Rutger tomato, and again, one end is doing better than the other end. We're not exactly sure why, but it is. And as you can see, at every end we put flowers, okay, because we want to attract pollinators. We want to keep pests away. All right, what's in these 2 rows here? Okra. The okra is finally coming up from seed. Now we grow a variety called Burgundy, but you know, that's an heirloom variety. It gets longer than the Clemson spineless that everybody else gets. It gets longer before it gets tougher. So you have a little bit of time in between to harvest, more so than your regular Clemson spineless. Not saying Clemson spineless is a bad okra, because it's not. It's a very good okra, but you have to pick that just about every day. And the Burgundy I can pick every other day, get longer pods that are still tender. Update on these meat birds, we got them on April 13th. Guys, look at the size of them birds. I think they're what, 6 weeks old? And did y'all just notice we have 3 new duckies? So we're deciding if we're going to put them on the pond or not, because we have a lonely duck out there. All right, guys, just thought I'd give you a quick update. This is garden number 4 in the chicken yard. All right, guys, we are out here in the bean patch. We've got beans that are ripening. We've got beans that are beginning. We've got blooms. We've got all stages on this row of beans here. They have climbed up to the top of the poles, everything. But while we were out here, we found a problem. So now I've got to show you what the problem is. And I'll be honest, I already filmed this once. Yep. Forgot to push record. Yeah. You know, some days our brains don't work. So now what I'm doing is I'm looking for another one, because we found bean beetle larvae out here. Now we are more of a hands-off approach. We don't really use organic chemicals and stuff either. This is what we do. That is bean beetle larva right there, guys. So we take and squish it. It's dead. All right, so that is bean beetle larva. So you can see where it's eating up leaves. And most likely that is that little yellow larva. The adult looks like almost like a ladybug, but it's not a ladybug, if that makes any sense. So we also have the squash beetle started as well, and we just squish those as well. I found actually some eggs on a bean leaf. See there? That is our squash bug larva, or eggs. So I'm just going to squish them, get them off of here, and we'll keep looking these beans, the backs of the leaves and everything, for other larvae and get them killed before they take and decimate our patch, because there is damage everywhere. And if you don't take and get rid of them, then you will lose your crop pretty fast. All right, guys, there's, like I said, there's organic ways that you could go through here and do it as well, with neem oil and things like that. You could always use some sort of insecticide if you're, you know, that type of person that doesn't mind the chemicals. We are more of a hands-off approach. So they didn't have all those chemicals way back in the day, and one of the things for us is preserving the ways of the past. So yeah, that's a bean beetle for you, and we will be back later. One of the things for the video today that I want to show you is this. All leaves that are broken. I'm just doing it with a knife today because that's what I got. Let's go ahead and just get rid of that. Next, y'all see this one? We're gonna go ahead and get rid of that too. Okay, that one comes right here. Just go ahead and pull it out, okay? So, when you see damaged leaves like that, go ahead and get rid of them. It'll help your plants in the long run. Now, let me show you something else. Y'all see that? That's a bug. Now we could spray neem or something like that on here, but y'all, we're also going to do this. We just crushed up and killed those bugs. Number two thing that you could do, that's another leaf I can get rid of right there. Alright, so why would you want to prune leaves? Well, one, it pulls energy away from your plants. Two, if there's so many leaves the bees can't see the blooms, then you're going to end up with squash that acts like blossom end rot, when what it really is the fruit did not get pollinated. Yep. So keep that in mind. Not get any fruit to start with, that's because you got male blooms. They put on male blooms a little bit to start attracting the pollinators to it, and then they start putting out the female blooms. How can you tell the difference between a male bloom and a female bloom? Well, the female bloom will have a little squash under it. It will. When it opens up, you'll see a little squash under there. That is a female bloom. If it doesn't have that, then it's a male bloom. And that's okay. You want it to attract the pollinators first. Want to know how far behind we are, guys? That's how far behind we are. Nothing is planted up here at all. We haven't even finished putting out the black plastic. Yep, we're behind, guys. So that is garden number 2 right there in the front yard. That's what we call that one, the front yard garden, because that's the front yard and the road. The chicken pen is a little overgrown. We got to get it cut back and get some chickens put in there. And guys, isn't that a beautiful view? Alright guys, so we're pulling them out of the cups, and as you can see, we are root bound. So we pull off this bottom mess and then mess up the roots on the side. That way it's not going to keep growing in circles. Now I need to probably pull that out a little more right there. There we go. Now it's not flat, okay? And it encourages it to grow out. Alright, so the holes, the size doesn't really matter, guys. Just keep them as small as you can. We had to go buy a different trowel than what we usually use, because this one, as you can see, is a narrower trowel. The one we had was probably bigger than my hand width. This one is narrow. So it fits down in the smaller holes perfectly. Now, I'm just getting in here and I am digging out that dirt because this is a tomato. Tomato, we like plant deep, okay? So we are going to pull that back. Any pieces of root I toss out because we don't want roots. And then I set this in the bottom of that hole. And then I pull the dirt back to it, which is going to be on top of that root ball, and that is okay with a tomato. You don't want to do that with your flowers and things like that. You want to keep the crown at the top. Most important thing I learned when I went to horticulture school for greenhouse management and nursery propagation, it was pot depth is plant depth. In other words, for most plants, whatever depth it is planted in that pot is the depth that you planted in when you get home. So, there you go. 1 tomato planted and 1,000 more to go. Yeah. So we're doing one test. We're going to plant a bunch of tomatoes back here. This gets mostly afternoon sun with a touch of morning sun, but the front garden gets mostly morning sun with a touch of afternoon sun. So we're going to see which set does best. Now, a couple of disclaimers on that test. The soil back here is better than the soil in the front. So we're going to see how it does. And just so you know, we are always amending our soil, trying to improve it. We're always adding wet rabbit poop from the barn. We're always adding all the leaves in the fall, and we're incorporating that in with the tiller when we start planting season each year. All right, y'all stay tuned. All right, let's plant some pickle bush cucumbers. So we're just going to get in here and we're going to toss up the soil in a few holes. That's really all that I'm going to do for these seeds because we already tilled under here. All right, now then, next step. Get your pack of seeds. Pour them in your hand. I'm holding a camera, so it's a little hard to do that today. Pick up a seed. Put it right there, but don't cover it too deep, guys. These are little seeds. They don't need a lot of dirt on top of it. And just lightly tap it in. Okay, so we planted pickle bush here now. I'm going to go ahead and finish out the rest of the row and get with you later.